That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
At the tone, please record your message.
You ready?
Drop it!
Mr. Tavis Smiley, preach it. Thank you, man. Politics in this country is crazy. You put things in perspective that even I didn't. The right is playing fast and loose with facts and scapegoating everyone under the sun, especially black and brown people. As a white man, I do not agree with this, and I am on my black and brown brothers and sisters' side. Fight the good fight. You know that I am part of the resistance. Let's fight the power.
Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our breaking news are the fissures, the fractions that are taking place in the Republican MAGA coalition, both in the House of Representatives and the United States Senate. The House of Representatives is releasing a number of discharge petitions. That is, when Democrats and Republicans come together, they can bypass the normal processes for moving legislation forward in the House of Representatives. I suspect, and we'll talk about it with our very special guest hostess in this hour, that these Republicans have returned to Washington from a 3-week break, a very, very long vacation. They've heard from their constituents. Their premiums are going up in healthcare, and they are generally miserable and disappointed in the behavior of the Congress of the United States. Our very special guest in this hour is none other than Liz King. Liz served as the Senior Director of Education Equity Program at the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights, where she worked for over a decade, leading efforts to advance educational equity and advocate for policies that ensure every child has access to high-quality education. Prior to her work at the Leadership Conference, she served as Senior Policy Associate for Education at the Children's Defense Fund, focusing on policy initiatives aimed at improving educational outcomes for underserved children. Liz, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you, Congressman. It's always so great to be here. So great to be here.
I'm so honored that you're here, Liz. Liz, am I on point about the idea that these Republicans went home for a fairly extended break and they heard from their constituents, and their constituents do not like what they're seeing going into the midterms?
I think absolutely. What we're seeing here is the result of building your house on sand. And this is a movement that was built on the sand of prejudice and division and hatred. And not only does that corrode the personality, not only is that dangerous and damaging to the soul, but it does not pay the bills. So what we're seeing right here is exactly what Du Bois told us. We are seeing the effects of this, the fallacy of the wages of whiteness. And we are seeing that there is no amount of horror that can be brought to the lives of our immigrant neighbors, or fear that can be put in the lives of our trans neighbors, that will make groceries any less expensive, that will help people pay the rent, or that will help people pay for their health care. And so what I'm hoping, what I believe we're seeing, is elected officials are being reminded that they need to be elected by constituents. And those constituents live in a world in which they have needs that deserve to be met. And everyone deserves access to health care. And they have been trying to take healthcare away. They've been trying to make healthcare more expensive. And their constituents are saying, hey, look, we're tired of this. We want to be able to pay for healthcare. We want to make sure that our families are taken care of. And I hope that we see within the MAGA movement this recognition that we're all going to have to come together and solve these problems that are facing everybody. Because no matter your politics, you need to be able to go to the doctor. No matter your politics, you need to be able to take care of your elderly relatives and of your baby.
Liz, I'm finding in the 3 minutes that we have remaining in this segment before we come forward that the politics of the economy are immensely local, that the Democratic talking points are obviously about inflation, about unemployment, about national memory. I hear candidates all across the country talking about the national politics, but in a real sense, these members of Congress came back to Washington and they heard from their constituents locally about eggs, about bacon, about grits, about chitlins, about cornbread, about the myriad of things that confront them. Am I right in suggesting that Democrats have to translate these messages into local politics so they can be understood by the people?
I mean, look, all politics is now and will always be local. I mean, that is the way that people live and experience the world, is what the prices are at their grocery store. And we're seeing this with the president, right? He keeps trying to tell people prices are coming down, but they know that that is not consistent with the reality they're experiencing. And so we're watching him lie again and again and again. And I think it's becoming clearer how much of what he says is a great big lie. Absolutely, it's about keeping things local. It's about reminding us one another that we are living in communities together with one another, and that we all deserve the same kind of things. And the way that looks in every community is a little bit different.
Does anyone actually believe Donald Trump goes grocery shopping? Held a carton of eggs or bacon? I mean, a man who thinks that he has a gold finger or the gold touch. Does anyone who actually stands in the bully pulpit of the presidency of the United States and hears Donald Trump talk about the quality and cost of living as being better under his administration than any president in the history of the United States, Liz, from your perspective, is that even believable?
Oh, no, of course not. Of course not. I mean, this is an individual who doesn't know anything about the realities of everyday life. I mean, he doesn't know anything about what it is to help your third grader who's struggling to learn how to read, or help your 11th grader who's figuring out whether or not they're going to get to go to college. He doesn't know anything about trying to make ends meet. He doesn't know anything about when there's more month than money. And I think that is just becoming clearer and clearer all the time. People have been sold a false bill of goods. And, it's falling apart. This is a house built on sand. There's no there. And I really hope what we see is people turning away and turning together, coming together in a movement that means true economic justice and shared prosperity for all of us. Absolutely. I hope that's where we're going in every community across the whole country.
I think you knocked it out of the park. More month than money. I think the American people clearly understand more month than money. More when we come forward on the misery index that the American people are experiencing under the MAGA movement and under the leadership of President Donald John Trump. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Our very special guest today is Liz King. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward.
behind on your taxes. If you're afraid to open your mail because IRS collection letters could be coming, listen carefully. The IRS is cracking down, taking paychecks, freezing bank accounts, revoking passports. That's a fact. But here's what most people don't know. There are official tax relief programs designed to help struggling taxpayers. Programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief. Optima's award-winning team will fight to protect your paycheck, your passport, and your property. Their tax attorneys and licensed professionals will work tirelessly to get you the best deal possible with the IRS. Everyday penalties and interest keep piling up, so don't wait. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Imagine a Los Angeles where everyone can thrive, where communities have access to the resources they need to succeed. That's the vision of Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. They're dedicated to improving life in LA County by providing educational support, employment assistance, and spaces for community engagement. By 2050, they want LA to be the best place to connect, create, learn, live, and play. They're working toward an education system that's well-resourced and culturally responsive, becoming a hub for artists and innovators, and making sure everyone has access to healthy food, quality healthcare, and safe housing. It's about building a future where we all have the chance to succeed. We invite you to learn more about their mission and get involved with Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is pleased to partner with the Empowerment Congress once again for their 34th annual summit. The summit's theme is From Vision to Action, a forum to unlock participatory democracy, and will feature a nonpartisan gubernatorial candidate forum focused on issues of importance to the African American community. The summit is the signature public policy-oriented observance of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy during the national 3-day holiday weekend that celebrates his life. This year's summit will be held on Saturday, January 17th, 2026 at the California Science Center in Exposition Park from 9 to 11 a.m. Admission is free, but registration is required at KBLA1580.com. All major announced candidates for California governor for the Democratic and Republican Party nominations have been invited to participate in the candidate forum, which will be moderated by Tavis Smiley. An all-star panel of journalists will pose questions to the candidates, and the forum will be broadcast live on KBLA Talk 1580. This is going to be a big year for local, state, and national politics. The political pulse of 2026 beats on KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest in this hour is none other than the incomparable Liz King. Liz, welcome forward to the show.
Thanks, Congressman. Always so much fun to be in conversation with you. Thank you.
Did you get a chance to see the Fed chairman's presser?
I don't know. I saw some of his statements earlier, but I didn't see the most recent presser. No. Can you tell us more about it?
Just this most recent press conference seemed to suggest that the present Department of Justice probe is really not about any malfeasance in office or fraud, but that the President of the United States is pushing back on and pressuring the Federal Reserve Board to follow his directions on interest rates without taking into consideration any of the economic indicators that the Fed usually weighs in making determinations for such judgments. I'm wondering, Liz, what your thoughts are about the president, about the White House, the president's power to interfere with the Fed, which is normally an organization that has is isolated, if you will, insulated from presidential interference.
Yeah, we're seeing this weaponized prosecution and the weaponized use of DOJ all over the place, right? I mean, what is surprising here is this is a very wealthy white man, and that is not the usual target of this discriminatory prosecution that comes out of this Department of Justice. Usually, right, it is Black women who have the courage and good sense to stand up to the president. But certainly, I mean, the irony here is we are looking at a president seek to respond to very reasonable concern among the general public that the economy is not serving their interests. Now, you talked about the misery index, and I think it's a good opportunity for us to think about what are those economic measures that really do matter to people. And so, I mean, obviously, this is terrifying to see the idea of the president having even greater reach into the economy, that reach which he has said so far has only had a disastrous consequence. And so sort of further influence on his part would only be worse for regular people. But it's an opportunity for us to think about, what does our economy mean? What do our values mean in our economy? And what should people be able to expect and deserve within our economy?
The misery index is an economic indicator that measures the level of economic distress in a country by combining the unemployment rate and the annual rate of inflation. Developed by economist Arthur O. Kuhn in the 1970s, a higher index score indicates greater economic hardship for the average citizen. The index gained prominence during the periods of stagflation or high inflation and high unemployment, and has been used in political campaigns to evaluate economic performance. Is it likely that we're going to hear more in this campaign about the idea that people are more miserable than they were 4 years ago? And the reason I say that is this cost, I believe, a candidate against Ronald Reagan in the 80s an election. Well, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? Are we better off now, 12 months with Donald Trump, than we were just 13 months ago?
I mean, I think the world is a much harder place for everybody by every measure. And I think this is an important reminder, you know, to the degree that the lesson of the MAGA movement is that politicians have been insufficiently responsive to economic concern, economic anxiety, and the very real way in which our economy is not working for so many people in so many communities. This is a wake-up call. This should be a wake-up call to everyone. I think the New York mayor's race is a really, really good reminder that there are economic ideas out there that would create a more livable society for all of us. And it is those ideas that should be coming forward. It is those ideas that should be brought to bear. But I think anybody who fell for the lie that, you know, Donald Trump said, hey, look, I'm going to start more wars. I'm going to make life harder for your neighbor, but it's okay because your bills will go down. That has been shown for the lie that it truly is. The bills are going up. Life is getting harder. And this is not the way we should be living as Americans.
Liz, we have a clip that I'd like to play, and I'd like your response and your thoughts on.
Speaking of suing the Trump administration, the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois and the state of Minnesota and the cities of St. Paul and Minneapolis have all brought major lawsuits tonight against the Trump administration to try to stop the attack by Trump's federal agents on those states and those cities. Trump's attack on Minneapolis in particular has been absolutely chaotic and bizarre and totally incoherent, even more so in the wake of the killing of Renee Nicole Good last week by an ICE officer who last week shot her 3 times through her windshield and her open driver's side window. I mean, it's just been nuts in Minneapolis. In this one Minneapolis home, these totally out of control, heavily armed officers broke down the door and rammed their way inside as the homeowner demanded to see a warrant allowing them to enter. The Associated Press reporting tonight that those agents didn't have a warrant from a judge authorizing their forced entry into a private residence, but they just did it anyway into a home with kids inside, apparently completely disregarding any applicable law. This was today in Minneapolis as well. A man named Christian Molina, a U.S. citizen, was driving south on 36th Street in South Minneapolis. He says he inadvertently made eye contact with an ICE officer who was lurking in an alley watching cars go by. The ICE agent then chased him and literally rammed his car into Mr. Molina. Rammed his car into Mr. Molina's vehicle, into the rear driver's side of his car, and then demanded that Mr. Molina show his papers. Mr. Molina is a U.S. citizen. According to the Minneapolis Star-Tribune tonight, quote, as agents confronted Christian Molina, dozens of community members came outside to disrupt them. The people who responded to that scene included a Minneapolis City Council member who told the paper that after Mr. Molina told the agents he knew his rights and that this was an illegal stop and he didn't need to show them anything, and after all of those people poured into the street to support this guy, the agents, I kid you not, what did they do? They set off 2 tear gas canisters in the street and then ran away. That was their contribution to public order and safety in South Minneapolis today. Here's another standoff from this weekend. A woman in Minneapolis ordered DoorDash, and ICE apparently chased the woman doing the delivery for DoorDash, chased her into the customer's home where she was dropping off the food because she works for DoorDash. The homeowner, in a fit of righteous rage, absolutely stood her ground and told ICE that they were not coming into her home to get this woman, that they needed a warrant to do it. And if they didn't have that warrant, she was not letting them in. And she called the cops on them, and she called her neighbors, and her neighbors came out, and everybody was standing there blowing whistles and yelling at them.
Liz, it's clear that the federal agents who are represented by the Customs Enforcement Agency have not been taught how to Mirandize people, have ignored the Constitution of the United States. They are not reading people their rights. They are a gang in just about every municipality in the nation terrorizing people. Liz, your initial thoughts. Liz, I think you have to unmute yourself, Liz.
We've gotten this far without that problem. No, 2 things I want to just uplift from this that are the good part of this, right? 2 things. One thing I heard in that clip is how many people in Minneapolis know their rights. They know what the Constitution says. And we know throughout the course of American history, it is that knowledge, it is that power of the Constitution in people's hands that has enabled them to push back. And then I think the other big piece here is the power of coalition. It is the interracial coalition that is refusing to obey, that is prompting this reaction, is this frustration, this recognition of how transformatively powerful coalition is. But it is absolutely terrifying to watch this, to know that children are seeing this, to see this idea that a neighbor has to choose what is the safest course of action, whether to exercise their rights or not. And I like to take it back to the history, and just going back to the Illinois and the Minnesota lawsuits, what that makes me think of is the reaction to the Fugitive Slave Act, right? Mm-hmm. The Fugitive Slave Act was an example where states had decided they were going to respect the human dignity and the constitutional rights of their residents. They were going to outlaw slavery. And you had southern states had a federal law that sought to apply the requirement of enslaving to those free states. And it was that precipitated the Civil War. And I really hope that's not where we're going. And I don't think that's where we need to go. But we are being reminded that there are a few instances in American history where states have shown up and said no to the federal government and yes to the constitutional rights and human dignity of their people. And I am so proud of Illinois and Minnesota for what they're doing and the way that they're showing up.
In your opinion, Liz, do you think, and I know we have just about 5 minutes before we come forward before our larger break, I'm wondering if MAGA understands that in the midterm elections, they are going to have to own the behavior of ICE in municipalities and in rural areas across our country. Do you think they understand that?
I would say, Congressman, this brings us back to the conversation we were having a while ago about the chief of staff at the White House. I think we're going to see more and more of them abdicate responsibility. They are going to do what has always happened when you have these oppressive regimes. Individual people will try and wash their hands of it. They'll try and say, oh, I didn't know. They'll try and say, oh, I didn't have anything to do with that. Or in the case of the White House chief of staff, they'll say, well, I had advised against that. I think we are going to see there is a realization they are on the wrong side of history. They will be held accountable. Not only will they be held accountable at the gates with St. Peter, but they will be held accountable in their own lifetime for the actions that they're involved in. And I think for those who voted for this president, whatever their motivation, there is a chance in the midterms. We've all got to get out there. We've all got to shut this down. We've got to end this MAGA movement. We've got to reclaim our dignity, our values as Americans, our unity, and our civilization, because that is what is being taken from us by these thugs.
At some point in time, Liz, I want to shift to the international space, because I think that the United States is losing significant ground in terms of its international cooperation with governments around the world. The president has now shifted his attention to Greenland, clearly isolating Europe and threatening the NATO alliance. Your initial thoughts on the possible unraveling of NATO led by the MAGA movement?
I mean, absolutely. Exporting this thuggery is terrible. And what I hope we are going to see, what this keeps making me think of is the way in which Black leaders have historically appealed to the United Nations to intervene when the United States, the federal government or state governments were acting against the human rights of people in the United States. Now what we're seeing is an effort to export this thuggery to other countries. I think the idea that anyone would walk away from the history of the 20th century and think that war is a good idea and we should do more of that. I mean, it is the United Nations. The beginning we saw of this was the dismantling of USAID, the dismantling of the United States' role as a moral leader in helping to meet the needs of people in countries who are facing the most challenging situations a human being can ever be in. And that is a self-interested move by the United States to prevent starvation and to ensure that people's human needs are being met, as well as a moral responsibility. I mean, this thuggery we're seeing on the global stage, it's embarrassing and it is dangerous, and it is going to make the world and the country less safe for all of us.
I heard one of the most outrageous press conferences I ever heard this week as well, when Stephen Miller exited the White House and essentially said that might makes right, and that the United States is under an obligation in this space to exercise its mightyful military power to enforce its will on governments in our hemisphere and around the world. Obviously, that is deeply troubling, and there is a day of reckoning that is coming to the United States for this behavior.
Absolutely. The Stephen Miller Lebensraum agenda is terrifying. And this is not where we as a world are moving towards democracy. We're moving towards inclusion. We're moving towards peace and away from war and away from thuggishness. And I think what we're seeing here is a reaction to that. We're seeing Stephen Miller is trying to make global conquest great again. And that is not the story that we know. That is not the story that we tell. Their heroes are the villains. And I think that's what is being most important here for us to remember. They are idolizing the wrong people. They are celebrating the wrong values. We need American values of peace, equality, and equal opportunity. And that is not what this agenda is about.
I am more confident than ever that if Democrats and progressives are not listening to our leadership at this hour, we're going to have some profound problems because the opportunity is ours. We're going to have stopgap measures, literally retake control of the House of Representatives in the midterms in order to stop the president of the United States. He already says, you're going to impeach me. They're going to impeach me. Yeah, we're going to impeach him. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk 1580. When we come forward, our very special guest in this hour is none other than Liz King on KBLA.
Drive Time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. The U.S. Supreme Court is weighing two major cases on transgender athlete bans from Idaho and West Virginia. During arguments, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, who is Black, questioned Idaho's attorney, Alan Michael Hurst, on why a statewide ban cannot be handled case by case.
Why is that so not administrable? We're not going to be able to sustain. I don't understand.
The rulings could affect similar laws in nearly half of the country. Officials are searching for several monkeys on the loose in the St. Louis area. The Missouri Department of Health says the animals native to Africa have been spotted near O'Fallon Park. The search has been complicated by fake AI images circulating online. And the president of HBCU Morris Brown College, Kevin James, says he was fired without explanation despite his contract running through 2029. James says enrollment at the Atlanta HBCU grew from about 20 students to more than 500 during his tenure. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
In North Hills on the 405 South at Roscoe, got that crash cleared over to the right shoulder. On the 405 South at Burbank Boulevard, got a stall blocking the left lane. We still have a SIG alert in Hollywood, 101 northbound at Vermont. Still trying to get that crash cleared. The two right lanes are blocked. It is a crawl from the 110. Now, your best alternate is to take that 110 north and then take the 5 northbound.
The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at Crohn'sColitisFoundation.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers take a 3-game losing streak into tonight's home game against Atlanta. LeBron is not expected to play. The Lakers have a plan this season to rest LeBron in the second game of back-to-backs. The Lakers played last night at Sacramento. Unflattering stat for the Lakers. They are last in the NBA in three-point shooting percentage, 33.8%. They made only 8 of 36 threes last night in their loss to the Kings. With Clippers guard James Harden moving into 9th place on the NBA all-time scoring list, the 8 players ahead of him belong on the Mount Rushmore of basketball. It's a pretty impressive list. LeBron, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Karl Malone, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, Dirk Nowitzki, Kevin Durant, and Wilt Chamberlain. Of those 8, Durant is the only one not in the Hall of Fame, but he will be whenever he decides to retire. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
At the tone, please record your message.
You ready?
Drop it!
Mr. Tavis Smiley, preach it. Thank you, man. Politics in this country is crazy. You put things in perspective that even I didn't. The right is playing fast and loose with facts and scapegoating everyone under the sun, especially black and brown people. As a white man, I do not agree with this, and I am on my black and brown brothers and sisters' side. Fight the good fight. You know that I am part of the resistance. Let's fight the power.
Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is committed to self-care and community well-being. Walk Good LA was formed in June 2020, inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement and the beginning stages of the COVID-19 pandemic. What began as a few minutes of breath work and yoga meditation before protests against police brutality turned into a safe space for the community to heal in hard times. The immensely positive response from the community transformed the momentum into a movement. Today, Walk Good LA is a black and brown-led community wellness organization based in Los Angeles. They provide spaces for healing through community yoga classes, guided meditations, hikes, run clubs, and other activations throughout Los Angeles that attract hundreds of members weekly. With the help of Propel and Michael B. Jordan, they now have a yoga and wellness studio in Los Angeles called the Walk Good Yard. To join their mailing list and connect with healing spaces, please visit walkgoodla.org. That's walkgoodla.org. Or find them on Instagram at walkgoodla. This is a community call to action, a community call to healing from KBLA Talk 1580.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears.
We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our very special guest in this hour is none other than Liz King. Liz, welcome forward to the show.
Thank you, Congressman. Always good to be here.
Liz, please forgive me for that brief technical difficulty. Liz, I want to go back to this issue of the unraveling of MAGA. Is there anything that Trump can do, surprisingly, to keep the MAGA coalition together at this hour?
I think that's a great question. I think that this group of people has stuck together and stuck by him despite all they've paid for it for a long time. And so I'm not sure what will happen. But what I do know is that the underlying, the house of sand on which this house is built, these underlying values are wildly unpopular. And that the overwhelming majority of people in this country want the opportunity to live in a multiracial democracy, to live peacefully, to have their own rights and the rights of their neighbors respected, to be able to meet their own basic needs and live in a community in which other people's basic needs are being met. And so maybe what we're seeing now is a realization that they've been sold a false bill of goods. And maybe what we're seeing now is a more vocal opposition by the largely unheard majority here that is not represented, never has been, by the values of the so-called values of the MAGA movement. And I hope what we're seeing is the beginning of the end. I think, in the last several years, there have been fits and starts, but there are too many who've stood by him for too long. And I really do hope that's coming to an end.
Do you see anything coming together on the other side of the aisle that suggests Democrats can capitalize from the unraveling of MAGA?
Well, what I hope we're going to see is that politicians across the political spectrum recommit themselves to core American values of equal opportunity and non-discrimination, and frankly, democracy. I hope what we see is a commitment to economic justice and equal opportunity. And I think the question now is whether Democrats are going to show up for that agenda. And we have seen some tremendous, courageous leadership by Democrats. And I hope we see more of that. I hope that becomes the defining central theme of the party, that when you are building your house on rock, when you are anchored, you are clear about your values, you're clear what you stand for. I think it is easier to move forward, and it's easier to move forward together. And I hope we hear a lot more talk about what it means to be an American, what it means to believe in our democracy.
When we think about the Mamdani race, the New Jersey race, the Virginia race, and some of the subsequent campaigns that have taken place, there does seem to be more interest on the progressive center-left side of the political ledger in engaging primary elections as well as general elections than normal. Do you agree with that, Liz?
I think what we're seeing is it's a very, very challenging time in our country. And so a bunch of people are putting forward a bunch of different ideas. And what I am feeling most encouraged about is the times when we see that the democracy still works, the democracy is still functioning. And what I hope is that we hear messages from every candidate that reflect a commitment to democracy, equal opportunity, and economic justice. You know, whether that comes in the form of primaries or general elections or however it plays out, I want to see every candidate running for office tell us how they will commit to constitutional rights, they will ensure that everyone's life gets a little bit better. I think that's going to be the real question. And whether that takes primary challenges or only happens in the general, those contrasts, who's with us and who's against us, I think is going to be really important, because we, the American people, deserve better. We deserve better than what's happening right now. And I hope we see public officials coming forward with a commitment to offer a better vision and a better way forward.
You know, speaking of better vision, what I'm learning and what I'm hearing and what I understand is everyone is running against Donald Trump. I get that. But not many people are distinguishing themselves within the democratic process of what it is that they stand for. What is the alternative to Project 2025? What are we going to undo that Trump has made a disaster out of? What are the problems that have to be solved as a result of a Democratic victory? And I'm not quite clear on that. I know that in large measure, the Affordable Care Act is a big piece of that, but I'm not hearing from Democrats a comprehensive agenda to return the federal government to some sense of normalcy, given that Donald Trump has taken a sledgehammer to the entire idea of the federal government.
Yeah, what I hope we see is the civil and human rights community coming together and leading us forward to the next chapter. And that I hope we see elected officials falling in line behind that vision. And this is a vision the civil and human rights community has been advocating for more than 100 years. Because we know even before the destruction and the burning down of the Trump administration, our government was not doing enough for all of us. Our government was not doing enough to ensure a level playing field and that everyone had a fair chance. And so what I hope we see is politicians lining up, joining hand in hand with communities to say we are now committing ourselves to an affirmative vision of the future that is about equal opportunity, that is about everyone having a chance to get ahead, about everyone having their needs met and living peaceably side by side with diverse neighbors and diverse neighborhoods. And I hope we see that. I hope we see politicians lining up. And I expect to see the leadership coming from the civil and human rights community, as it always has, to paint a path forward. I mean, really, this is the conscience of the nation we're talking about. And now is about time for us to have some conscience.
You know, Liz, I wanted to broach this subject matter in the final segment of our show, but I might as well broach it now. What happened to Renee Good is a turning moment, a turning point, I believe, in the American people's understanding of the cruelty of the Trump administration. The quick response, the lack of an investigation, Kristi Noem, as well as the president and vice president's statements with respect to what we obviously saw on the video, not an attempt to hurt an ICE agent, just the attempt of a mother, of a spouse to move on with her day. Your thoughts on Kristi Noem? I'm sorry, your thoughts on Renee Good?
I mean, this is just such an awful moment for the country. And I think, you know, what immediately came to mind for me was Goodwin, Schwerner, and Cheney. And that was the 3 voting rights workers who were lynched in Mississippi. And it was just an awful, awful point in the civil rights movement. And I think, you know, part of what we have to keep in mind there was a reminder that we cannot be more outraged by violence against white people than we are by violence against Black and brown people. But what I think we're seeing here is a call to action for everyone in every community to show up with their neighbors, to show up in unity and love and respect, a commitment to our constitutional American values of equal opportunity. It's just horrific. It is horrific what happened. She deserved to go home and be with her child that day. That's what everyone deserves every day. They don't deserve to be kidnapped off the street. They don't deserve to be roughed up by these thugs who call themselves law enforcement. They deserve better than that. We all deserve better than what is happening right now.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We have Liz King on Tenacious Tuesday. She is a regular contributor on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, and I am particularly excited that her mind, that her spirit, that her body is here with us on every other Tuesday because of the extraordinary contribution that she makes and keeps us informed in Washington, D.C., what's taking place in our country and our world. More on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
After nearly 20 years in Congress, he knows how to get at the issues that matter the most to you. Every day, he takes a deep dive into politics, social justice, and the stories that shape our community. This is where prominent people unpack perplexing problems. Unfiltered, unapologetic, unmissable. You're inside the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580.
Pizza's here. Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks Vapor Stick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks Vapors in an easy-to-apply stick, and it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom.
Vicks Vapo Stick, soothing comfort for the whole family. And try Vicks Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks Vapors when you need more comfort for yourself. Use as directed.
Attention. Have you racked up $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is notifying consumers about significant debt relief options currently being made available to help those with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of credit card debt for those who qualify. You don't need to declare bankruptcy or take out a consolidation loan, and you may only have to pay back a fraction of what you owe, even if you have bad credit. National Debt Relief has already reduced the credit card debt for more than 550,000 consumers. So don't wait. If you owe $10,000, $20,000, or even $100,000 in credit card debt, you can now take advantage of this financial debt relief as the cost of living continues to skyrocket. To check what debt reduction you may qualify for, call 800-237-8585. That's 800-237-8585. Again, that's 800-237-8585.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. LA County's new Justice Care and Opportunities Department, or JCOD, is here to support justice-involved individuals and their families. The JCOD Support Center is now taking calls at 1-833-LACJCOD. That's 1-833-522-5263. Available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., the Support Center is your one-stop shop for re-entry issues and court support. They offer court reminders, connections to local services, transportation assistance for housing, court appearances, and childcare. The JCOD hotline provides personalized help to connect you with services that you need. And don't forget to check out justiceconnect.org for more information. Remember, it's free and available every day at 1-833-522-5263. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA. Our very special guest in this hour is none other than Liz King. Liz, welcome forward to the show.
Thanks so much, Congressman. Always great to be here.
Liz, let's stay on the national stage for just a moment. The first president ever to bomb 8 countries in less than a year. And I'm deeply concerned about the unrest that is taking place in Iran and just how destabilizing that could ultimately be. Your thoughts, Liz?
I think what we're seeing is that the demand of people to be free, to feed their children, to have security, to have safety, to have freedom, to have opportunity transcends time and place. And I think we're seeing that in Iran now. We're seeing the people of Iran are showing up and pushing back against the conditions they've been subjected to for far too long. I think we're seeing that, we saw that in the Arab Spring. We have seen that in Hungary, and the resistance to the anti-LGBTQ movement in Hungary and the way in which the Hungarian people have pushed back against that. And I think we are being reminded of the insistence, the persistence, the determination of people to be free in all places. And I think that comes back here too. What we are seeing is people walking away from the MAGA movement, people realizing that this is a movement that is about control and oppression. It's about making life harder, not easier. It's about taking away and making the rich richer and the poor poorer. And I think we're being reminded that we are one people on this planet, and what we want as human beings, this is the language of human rights, that what we want as human beings transcends our time and place. And what I hope for is that there will be an opportunity, there's that quote that JFK always used, when you make nonviolent resistance impossible, you make violent revolution inevitable. And what I hope we see is a nonviolent transition to democracy across the globe, including in our own country.
I couldn't agree more that the movement, the winds of change, are moving throughout societies around our country and around our world. The people are pushing back. They are fighting back against authoritarianism in Iran. They are fighting back against authoritarianism around the world. And even what might have been meant for bad by Donald Trump, in some areas it's turning out for good, because the people are beginning to express themselves and rise up and take responsibility for their own lives and for their own actions. I should share with you that given all that the Middle East has been through since October the 7th, a destabilized Iran will also play very well into the hands of the Israelis. Your thoughts on this critical issue, Liz?
I think what we're seeing is that the determination, what King told us is that peace is not merely the absence of tension, it is the presence of justice, and that people will only live with injustice for but so long. And we need to create conditions that enable people to elect their leaders, to determine their own future. We need to create a scenario, in which, freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. We need to be in a situation in which people can be hopeful and have a future, and they can turn away from violence. More killing is terrifying. It is terrifying in any place. And certainly the Middle East is a region that has had far more than its fair share of violence and oppression for far too long. These are people entitled to self-determination and equal opportunity, the same as people in every corner of the globe. And what I hope we see is a transition to a United States government that is a friend of peace, that is a friend of democracy, and that is a friend of the oppressed and the marginalized in every country. What I hope we see is that people in our country exercise their democratic right to vote, and that they vote in the midterms, and that is what starts to turn the tide. And we, the United States, again, become a democracy, become a leader, a democratic leader in the world that can help create democracy and pathways to nonviolent transitions of power around the globe.
Security and self-determination for everybody. It's not that complicated. People have a right to exist within internationally recognized and secure borders. Liz and I are on the same page. And that spirit means that the ends do not justify the means, that we have to give some thought to the idea that people must be able to live together, to coexist together, to see each other as neighbors and not as enemies, and not even as frenemies. Maybe frenemies is a step towards overcoming an enemy status. But to open up trade, to open up communication, to broaden understanding, to reach out to our neighbors, to show care and concern is not unreasonable for civilized people. Liz, we're coming close to the end of our final quarter of the show. Liz, can you offer us a word of hope?
I think what we're being told right now is, in a world with Kristi Noem and Donald Trump, be good. And every day, every one of us has the opportunity to show up for our neighbors, to straighten our own backs, to be a force for good, for peace, for justice, and equal opportunity. And I think that is what we are all called to do, is to be good.
You know, I've been reading Beyond Vietnam, a speech that Martin Luther King delivered in 1967. And I think this revolution of values that Dr. King talked about in that speech, as we turn the corner towards his 97th birthday on January 15th, I'm reminded that he said that young Black men in the ghettos and neighborhoods of our nation had come up to him and they had said, Dr. King, you're asking us to be nonviolent, but what about Vietnam? And Dr. King said it essentially froze him in his steps. He said that he knew at that moment that he could no longer speak with integrity on the question of nonviolence without commenting on the greatest purveyor of violence in the world, the US government. And this was in 1967. And if there's ever been a case for just how violent, overtly and covertly, the United States government can truly be, of course, the great tragedy being in the name of the American people, which means that whatever the US government does, it means that Liz King and I, and those of you within listening range of my voice, wherever we travel in the world, the perception is that we condone the behavior of the United States. And that's why these militias are now showing up in Venezuela, looking for American citizens and looking for Americans, because the world that we live in today is a lot less safe as a result of the idea that we've not given thought to the end that we seek, knowing full well that how we behave on the international stage has impacts for Americans abroad, Americans at home, and Americans all over our world. In a real sense, Martin Luther King Jr., Liz was absolutely right, that we find ourselves trapped in an inescapable bond of mutuality. That what makes Liz King the very best that she can be also makes me the very best that I can be. And when I'm at my very best, Liz King can also be at her very best. And therefore, when we turn to each other and not on each other, we bring people together and we thrive together. Liz, I'm so grateful that you joined us for this hour on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, indeed your show on Tenacious Tuesdays. Thank you for being with us, Liz.
Thank you so much, Congressman. Can't wait for next time.
I can't wait as well. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're on the J Lunch Club. Jesse Jackson Jr. on Tenacious Tuesdays with Liz King. And up next, of course, none other than the great attorney, Barbara Arnwine. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward right here. KBLA Talk 1580.
BIN News Now. Attorneys for Marnie Yang are presenting new evidence in her conviction for the 2007 killing of Sean Gale's pregnant girlfriend, Roni Reuter.
He came into the barbershop that morning a wreck.
Her lawyer says Yang is too short to be the shooter and cites a previously unused deposition claiming Gale, who is Black, admitted responsibility. Black Maryland Attorney General Anthony Brown says his Health Education and Advocacy Unit saved Maryland patients nearly $2.6 million in fiscal year 2025. The unit resolved more than 2,000 complaints, helping people appeal insurance denials and confusing medical bills. And Detroit's Black Mayor, Mary Sheffield, is restructuring the city's Health and Human Services. She's appointed Luke Schaefer as Detroit's first Chief Executive of Health, Human Services, and Poverty Solutions, and Benita Miller to lead the new Department of Human, Homeless, and Family Services. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
In Commerce on the 5 South at Garfield, trying to clear a stalled truck from the middle lanes. It's still a slow ride all the way from the 710. Monterey Park on the 10 West, right at the 710, trying to clear a crash from the right lane there. We still have a Siglard in Hollywood, 101 northbound, right of Vermont. This has been going on since like 5 in the morning. The 2 right lanes are still going to be blocked. It is a crawl from the 110.
The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at Crohn'sColitisFoundation.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Mike Tomlin, the dean of active NFL head coaches and the most successful African-American head coach in NFL history, told his Pittsburgh Steelers team Tuesday morning that he is stepping down and will not return for a 20th season. The announcement by the 53-year-old Tomlin ends a 19-year run for Tomlin as the face of one of the NFL's legendary franchises. Tomlin was not fired. It was his decision, as he expressed to his players and ownership to move on. Tomlin's decision comes less than 24 hours after Pittsburgh lost to Houston Monday night, 30-6 in the first round of the AFC playoffs. It was the 7th straight first-round playoff loss for Pittsburgh with Tomlin. Tomlin's last playoff win was 2016. The Steelers won a Super Bowl with Tomlin in 2009 and never had a losing season after he was hired in 2007. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader. KBLA Talk 1580. Follow the leader.
If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcasts of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Got your black. Follow the leader. Oh my God. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson. Welcome to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on Tenacious Tuesday, and I was thinking and reflecting upon our conversation with Liz King, and I was also reflecting upon a speech that Martin Luther King Jr. delivered on April 4th, 1967 at Manhattan's Riverside Church. And in this moment, I'm saying to myself, self, is it a time to break our silence? Is it a time to break our silence? The title of the speech that Martin Luther King Jr. delivered on that occasion, Beyond Vietnam, a time to break silence. Dr. King gave considerable reflection to the idea that clergymen, politicians, in 1967, many of them were running for office, particularly the politicians. There was a 1968 presidential election year. Clergymen were joining the Democrats, and some were exercising their rights, supporting candidates for President of the United States. It would be in that context, of course, at the Democratic nomination or through the Democratic nomination process that Bobby Kennedy would lose his life at the hands of Sirhan. And Dr. King, a few short months later, would lose his life after Bobby Kennedy, before Bobby Kennedy had lost his life. Remember, Bobby Kennedy broke the news that Martin Luther King Jr. had been assassinated in Memphis, Tennessee. So it was a season of death. And Martin Luther King Jr., in April, about a year or so before he died, he began raising this question that we have to break our silence. And for his position on the Vietnam War, he was criticized by Black clergymen, by Black elected officials, who Dr. King talks about in the speech by saying that during a time of war, it is very difficult to not be supportive of your own nation. Dr. King says that heightened senses of patriotism are a factor in national support for our sons and daughters that we have sent as a nation into harm's way. I say that with a caveat. When the Congress of the United States, that being, authorizes a war on behalf of their constituents and on behalf of the American people, the heat and the pressure has come from the people to their representatives for the need to go to war. But unilateral actions by a sovereign, from my perspective, are not the same. And so the moment is propitious for us to be able to break our silence, that our men and women, that our weapons are being used without the authorization of the Congress of the United States, that our men and women are in harm's way and our children, that this is not activity that has been authorized by Congress nor supported by the American people. Therefore, immediately leaving before us the question, at what point in time is it a time for us to break our silence? That the activities themselves in Greenland, in Venezuela, the threats in Colombia, the threats to Cubans, launching rockets into Nigeria, the role the United States is undoubtedly playing in Iran, the security for Palestinians and the security for Israelis in the Middle East. The question is, at what point in time are we going to break our silence? And so I've been struggling, just before I bring our tenacious guest, Barbara Arnwine, into the program, probably at the next break. I've been struggling with this idea that Beyond Vietnam needs to be upgraded to include something like Beyond Venezuela. What kind of world in our silence are we building? And what message are we sending to progressive movements around the world when we are silent? Is it that we are frozen by the behavior of the United States of America? That we could have never imagined that a president would seek to shape the entire world order unilaterally? He told us this is what he was going to do. And no one wants to say, I told you so. But we did tell you so. Kamala told us so. Remember back when Democrats were squabbling over who should succeed Joe Biden, lest should we forget, just about a year and a half ago, we had a Democratic National Convention where who would lead the Democratic Party was a factor in the national conversation, not fully appreciating all that was at stake if last November Donald Trump was elected president of the United States. A time to break our silence. I have read as high as 17% of the black male vote in the last election went to Donald Trump. And today, only 6% of African American men find favor with Donald Trump. There is evidence on the horizon that the time to break our silence is upon us. And I want us to reflect some point in time during the course of this week before the official birthday celebration of Martin Luther King Jr., maybe on Johnny Mac's show and the World House, not just about beyond Vietnam, but beyond Venezuela. What is the revolution of values that we must go through as a nation in order to build a beloved community? I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to Tenacious Tuesdays on KBLA Talk 1580. When we come forward, Barbara Arnwine will join us, our most tenacious guest. More when we come forward on KBLA.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
If you're one of the millions of Americans behind on your taxes, if you're afraid to open your mail because IRS collection letters could be coming, listen carefully. The IRS is cracking down, taking paychecks, freezing bank accounts, revoking passports. That's a fact. But here's what most people don't know. There are official tax relief programs designed to help struggling taxpayers. Programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief. Optima's award-winning team will fight to protect your paycheck, your passport, and your property. Their tax attorneys and licensed professionals will work tirelessly to get you the best deal possible with the IRS. Everyday penalties and interest keep piling up, so don't wait. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. If you need help getting your resume in order, finding job training, or landing a job, we've got 3 great options for you. First, the City of Los Angeles has WorkSource centers across the area offering free job support. The California Workforce Development Board can help you with everything from GED prep to vocational training at no cost to you. On the federal level, the Department of Labor's American Job Centers offer a full range of services for job seekers and businesses alike. Visit careeronestop.org, or for more info, just call California's Help Center or visit cwdb.ca.gov or call 916-657-1440. For the City of Los Angeles programs, go to ewdd.lacity.gov or call 213-744-7300. All these services are free to help you get your next job. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is pleased to partner with the Empowerment Congress once again for their 34th annual summit. The summit's theme is From Vision to Action, a forum to unlock participatory democracy, and will feature a nonpartisan gubernatorial candidate forum focused on issues of importance to the African American community. The summit is the signature public policy-oriented observance of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy during the national 3-day holiday weekend that celebrates his life. This year's summit will be held on Saturday, January 17th, 2026 at the California Science Center in Exposition Park from 9 to 11 a.m. Admission is free, but registration is required at KBLA1580.com. All major announced candidates for California governor for the Democratic and Republican Party nominations have been invited to participate in the candidate forum, which will be moderated by Tavis Smiley. An all-star panel of journalists will pose questions to the candidates, and the forum will be broadcast live on KBLA Talk 1580. This is going to be a big year for local, state, and national politics. The political pulse of 2026 beats on KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. And before I bring on our very special guest, I want to give a shout out to the sisters of Delta Sigma Theta sorority. on the occasion of their Founders Day, extraordinary sorority founded in 1913, very productive and important organization within the African American community of professional women. Happy Founders Day. Our very special guest in this hour is none other than tenacious contributor, attorney Barbara Arnwine, president and founder of the Transformative Justice Coalition, internationally renowned for contributions on critical justice issues, including the passage of the landmark Civil Rights Act of 1991 and the 2006 reauthorization of provisions of the Voting Rights Act. Barbara, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show and Tenacious Tuesdays. You're muted, Barbara.
It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Barbara, I was sharing just before you came on the program that Martin Luther King Jr. preached at Riverside Church, Beyond Vietnam, a time to break silence. Barbara, is this a time to break our silence?
Absolutely. And I want to commend the millions of people who jumped into the streets this last weekend. They were in the streets on the 9th. They were in the streets on the 10th. They were in the streets a lot on the 11th, protesting ICE, protesting the invasion of Venezuela, the threats against these other nations, protesting. And I want to commend every person because it was cold out there. I'm sorry, y'all.
Yes, it is.
It was cold in Minneapolis. It was cold even in DC. But people showed up anyway because they were that angered, that distressed by our nation and the actions that have been taken by this Trump administration. Folks, mark your calendars down. January the 20th, the day after MLK Day, nationally, January the 20th is the nationwide walkout on fascism. It is the first anniversary of the Trump administration, and it is a protest of all the unconstitutional, vicious, and evil deeds that this administration has done. And we're asking everyone to please take to the streets, walk out of your job, walk out of your school, walk out of whatever you're doing at 2:00 p.m. Eastern. 2:00 p.m. Eastern. We're asking people to leave your places of employment and we're having a 2-hour walkout from 2 until 4. And if you want to go longer, start earlier, end later, fantastic. You can get a lot of information about this walkout from the Women's March, from dcproject.org, and I will give even more contacts as we talk. But it's critical that we, the people, continue to show our opposition to this nonsense. I mean, think about this. Most of us, a lot of people just became aware of Renee, Nicole Good, because of her vicious murder that was caught on video. Thank God for the people who video. Keep on videoing, people. Keep on video. Please, please don't ever stop doing that because it's the only way we can refute the lies of the government and the lies of officials. We need you to keep doing that. But when people became aware of Renee Good's slaying and saw the lies that were told by Kristi Noem.
Unbelievable.
Just straight up lies. But that's what fascists do. They lie. And that's what this administration has done. It lies every day. I said that if they couldn't lie, they wouldn't be able to talk. That's how bad their lying is. I'm serious. And they would have nothing to say because all they do is lie. And I think that the great thing here is that people were able to see it for themselves, and from all the different angles, and we're able to see it for themselves. And they heard that comment that Trump, Vance, and nobody else will talk about And that is the comment after he shot her, that F and B word that he said.
Mm-hmm.
Come on now. Nobody made him say that.
That's correct.
He was under no threat. He had already killed the poor woman. Her car had already crashed, and he's up there celebrating, saying F and B.
Barbara,
I mean, come on.
Barbara, I've never seen government of, for, and by the people more tone deaf to the needs, to the marches, to the way in which dissent is being expressed about their behavior, quite like I've seen in the last 11, almost 12 months of the Trump administration. Is it your opinion that if the branches of government were more divided, that is, if Democrats regained control of Congress, that the administration may be less tone deaf? I know that there is a movement afoot, impeachment articles. Some have even talked about bringing for Secretary Noem.
Yes.
There are others who have advanced impeachment articles already, including Congressman Al Green, for the President of the United States and other administration officials. Is that the key?
I think, first of all, let's step back a little bit on your question, because the first issue is I don't think they are government of and for we the people. They are a government for we the rich, we the oligarchs, we the racists, we the we the greedy, but they are not for we the people. I mean, he makes that clear all the time. He talks about blue and red states, about how he's gonna persecute the blue states, and so he's made it clear that he does not see himself as a president of all the people. He never talks about being a president of all the people. In fact, every time he speaks, he's going after some divide. Somalis who are living in our country are the enemy. He goes after and won't talk about all these billionaire fraudsters. Come on now. Won't talk about, who put OxyContin on the streets. It wasn't who you think it was. It was rich folks. And they are richer because of it. And none of them have gone to jail. Come on. I mean, there's just all these realities that, and who did he pardon? He pardoned the biggest drug lord in the history of bringing tons and tons of drugs into the United States. He doesn't care about we the people. That's the reality. He only cares about we the oligarchs. He only wants to make his people richer. Why is he threatening Jerome Powell? Come on. What is Jerome Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve, mad at him because he won't do what he wants to do to help, benefit his rich people? So, folks, this is terrible. We are in this is what oligarchs do. Oligarchs invade other nations to get their rare earth minerals, their natural resources. Oligarchs say, put police in the streets and have law enforcement terrorize neighborhoods so people can be, their lives can be destroyed. Oligarchs do this, because all they want and all they see is the bottom line, how's their money growing.
I find it fascinating, the point that you made, and I wanted to kind of go back and unpack it for just a moment, that OxyContin, oxycodone, whatever you want to call it, is a prescription medication.
Yes.
And these doctors were pushing these drugs. They were drug dealers. And it resulted in the deaths of hundreds, maybe even thousands of people.
Thousands and thousands.
And yet no prosecutions.
None.
Now, fentanyl, wherever it's coming from, Mexico, South America, where it's disputed that it is constructed there. Some have suggested that the raw materials might be there, but that it's ultimately constructed here in the United States.
Yes.
Fentanyl, crack cocaine, and notice the difference. Notice the difference, Barbara, also. When the crack cocaine epidemic came, we prosecuted not only crack dealers, but crack addicts, and we locked them up. But on the question of fentanyl, this is a health crisis. And the health crisis isn't locking up people who are addicted to fentanyl. The U.S. government is trying to find them help.
And
Try to find help for the crack babies.
and what about Iran-Contra? Has everybody forgotten about Iran-Contra?
California and Los Angeles is real familiar with freeway.
Hey, I mean, come on, folks. What was Iran-Contra about? It was the CIA and the FBI purposefully bringing drugs, cocaine, and crack into this country, purposefully so that they could run their side illegal operations because
Gun
they needed
deals.
the money, right?
Oliver North.
Right. Come on. I mean, folks, government has to be held accountable. If you don't hold government accountable, then government will run amok. Absolute power corrupts. It's corruptive. There's no doubt about it. And this man wants to be a dictator, and he wants to have absolute power. And he is, sadly, as I keep pointing out, he is not in the best mental state. And if he were competent and was this evil, it would be a problem. But it's really horrendous when you have somebody who is showing so many signs of incompetence, that you have this horrific threat, because then there's no way to reason with him.
I do want to pick back up on that, the narco traffickers.
Yes.
Because there's an entire generation of Americans who have no appreciation of what we learned in Iran-Contra.
They don't know.
And that is the role of our government in cutting deals with narco traffickers to allow them to sell drugs in the United States.
Exactly.
In exchange for arms. And for those of us, Barbara, who experienced and lived through that period,
yes,
it's hard for us to imagine that narco traffickers that Donald Trump is assassinating and arresting don't have a story to tell about the work they've been doing with the U.S. government over many decades.
Tell me. And just, folks understand, Congress appropriates funds for all of our federal operations. And what happens is when they want to go off the book and they don't want to they don't want to use congressional funds, federal funds, then they did this, narco trafficking. And where did they funnel all of this cocaine and this crack cocaine and all the rest of it? Where'd they send it? Black communities.
Yeah,
Black communities.
It's a dark budget. It's a black budget. It's a budget that's over at the intelligence agencies.
Yes.
That is off budget, and it is unlimited, and the hole is so deep.
Yep.
You can't find an accounting process for the amount of money they spend in this space.
It's all hidden, it's just a mess, folks. And that's why, we have to be cynical and skeptical and questioning when we hear all of these alleged, concerns about drug dealing. They're not concerned about drug dealing. I mean, the very folks who are talking about that are slurring their words. Up there, all the time, because they've been using, cocaine. Come on, folks, don't fall for this.
Barbara, let me ask you a question, because I know we'll be coming forward in just a moment.
Kick me
Barbara,
out
when can we expect the Calais decision? Barbara, when can we expect the Calais decision? It's
tomorrow.
The Calais decision's coming down tomorrow.
No. I said it's very probable. I mean, it's a good 60% chance or more that it comes out tomorrow.
In the not too distant future, we'll be looking at the decision on the Voting Rights Act.
Yes, the Supreme Court has announced that they have an opinion day for tomorrow.
Okay.
Remember that the state of Louisiana asked for a decision by January 13th, and there will be a decision out on January 14th. And remember, the way the court works is that they never set an opinion day until they actually have an opinion to release.
Barbara, I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. We're going to deal with this in just a moment. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580. More with Barbara Arnwine when we come forward.
Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Illinois and Chicago are suing the Department of Homeland Security. Black Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul says Customs and Border Protection and ICE used unlawful tactics, including warrantless arrest and tear gas.
These Border Patrol agents and ICE officers have acted as occupiers rather than officers of the law.
The lawsuit is asking a judge to order those practices to stop. Preliminary data shows a drop in Obamacare enrollment. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services reports 22.8 million people signed up for 2026 coverage, down about 800,000 from last year. And Renee Hardman has made history as the first Black woman in the Iowa Senate. She was sworn in Monday after winning a December special election, and her victory also blocked a Republican supermajority. Hardman, a former West Des Moines City Council member, will serve on 6 committees, including as ranking member on local government. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
In West LA in the 405 northbound before Santa Monica Boulevard, we've got a stall. It's going to be blocking the right lane. It is already stop and go coming away from the 90. We still have that SIG alert in Hollywood on the 101 northbound of Vermont Avenue. That crash is still going to be blocking the 2 right lanes. In Porter Ranch on the 118 eastbound before Porter Ranch Drive, another SIG alert. Only the carpool and left lane are going to be open there.
The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at Crohn'sColitisFoundation.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Mike Tomlin, the dean of active NFL head coaches and the most successful African-American head coach in NFL history, told his Pittsburgh Steelers team Tuesday morning that he is stepping down and will not return for a 20th season. The announcement by the 53-year-old Tomlin ends a 19-year run for Tomlin as the face of one of the NFL's legendary franchises. Tomlin was not fired. It was his decision, as he expressed to his players and ownership to move on. Tomlin's decision comes less than 24 hours after Pittsburgh lost to Houston Monday night, 30-6 in the first round of the AFC playoffs. It was the 7th straight first-round playoff loss for Pittsburgh with Tomlin. Tomlin's last playoff win was 2016. The Steelers won a Super Bowl with Tomlin in 2009 and never had a losing season after he was hired in 2007. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Got your blood. Keep following the leader. Oh my God. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
My ride smells just right, just right, just right, just right. Y'all gotta try that Febreze car. Just right, just right, just right. Yeah. La 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 la. With up to 40 days of consistency, all over Febreze car clips right on your vent. You know my car's my happy place. Keep that smile on my face when it smells just right, just right, just right. Yeah, breathe happy Febreze. La 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 la.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you, when we fight, we win. The Youth Justice Coalition is challenging America's addiction to incarceration and discrimination. YJC works to dismantle policies leading to mass incarceration, law enforcement violence, and the school-to-prison pipeline. Their approach, transformative justice, community intervention, free LA high school, legal defense, and system monitoring. YJC promotes safety without relying on prisons. Their goal, prevent system contact and help people exit the system through direct action, advocacy, and education. Want to get involved or need help? Call 323-235-4243. That's 323-235-4243. Join YJC in creating change. When we fight, we win. KBLA Talk 1580, your voice for justice. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Yeah.
California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, Black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me.
For the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest in this hour is our most tenacious guest. Attorney Barbara Arnwine is the founder of the Transformative Justice Coalition. And just before the break, I did have a question for Barbara about the Louisiana versus Clay decision. Barbara, before we go into a deeper unpacking of the Clay decision and the possibility that it will be released tomorrow, will you share with our listeners what the decision is all about?
Yes, it's very likely, very possible it could be released tomorrow. The court is sitting on, two really big cases, Clay and the tariff case, and it's going to be one of them for sure, or both. That's how the court rolls. So I just want everyone to know that Louisiana versus Clay is a direct threat to African American, Latino, Native American voting power. That it is a case that says basically that the creation of a black majority black voting district in response to years of racial discrimination and voting by the state of Louisiana would be that they're arguing that it's unconstitutional and that it is a quote racial gerrymandering. So wait a minute. So come on, folks. If somebody steals your car and you know who it is, and you know that they planned the theft, they carried out the theft, what do you want? You want compensation, right? What kind of compensation do you want? You want your car. You want the value of your car and the return of your car. And so when somebody steals your vote and says that you cannot elect a candidate of the choice because we have drawn the maps that only white people can be elected from these districts, then your remedy is to have a district that is constructed where blacks can possibly elect a candidate of their choice. And so that was the remedy. It was a remedy for past discrimination. But, quote, non-blacks, filed a lawsuit saying this is unfair to us because, we're being denied, our right to be free of discrimination because this means blacks get, certain rights, and that's unfair under the, under our view of the Constitution, all of this nonsense. So it is so important for us to understand that who do you have as Chief Justice of the United States? You got John Roberts. What has John Roberts built his career on? His opposition to the Voting Rights Act. This is also a case where they're arguing that the Voting Rights Act itself, created out of the shed blood of African Americans and whites and everybody else who marched for that Voting Rights Act. They're saying that that act is unconstitutional. Unconstitutional. Why? Why? Okay, everybody get ready. Why is it unconstitutional? They're saying it's unconstitutional because there's no more racial discrimination in voting.
And maybe the number one factor associated with voting is race itself. That many people step into a poll specifically looking for a certain kind of congressman.
You got it.
Who speaks to their issues, who looks like them, who experiences the same experiences that they've experienced. Barbara, I got a couple more questions around this Calais decision.
Yes.
The decision was, the state of Louisiana said that they like the decision to be rendered by when?
January 13th, which would have been yesterday.
Okay.
I mean, today, right? Today.
So we could be looking at a decision any moment now, but certainly sometime possibly this week if the court has a decision.
Well, the court only, the court announces its opinion days. There's no, quote, surprise opinion days. They announce them in advance. And they have announced that the next opinion day will be tomorrow.
Okay.
And so at 10 o'clock tomorrow, all eyes will be trained on the court.
So the worst case scenario, if the court strikes down Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act.
Yes.
And therefore strikes down, I would assume, the Cleo Fields Congressional District in the state of Louisiana.
Yes.
Can you share with us your thoughts on the ripple effect of that decision?
We don't have to think. Fair Vote and Black Voters Matters has done an amazing report that shows that we could lose as many as 19 people of color from the Congress, especially African-American congressional officials, that we could lose 191 districts that have been, that are drawn, that are predominantly African-American. And so if they go overbroad on using this, we could have that immediate effect. But worse than that, every time there's discrimination in voting, we wouldn't be able to fight it with the Voting Rights Act. People, go back to 1965. 1965 in Alabama, there less than 5% of all blacks were registered. Go back to Mississippi. Go back to Louisiana. Go back to Georgia, Florida, all these states that South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, all these states, Kentucky, Oklahoma, just go back to all these states that
Lookout Mountain, Tennessee.
Oh, come on now. Come on now, Missouri. Let's talk about it. Texas.
Illinois. All of our districts are drawn pursuant to the Voting Rights Act of 1965.
Folks, the Voting Rights Act was the most revolutionary piece of voting civil rights legislation ever passed. It did more to accomplish its goals than any other. Fair Housing Act hasn't been as successful as it should be. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 has had immense impact, immense, but nothing has been as powerful as the Voting Rights Act. We went from, at the time, I believe, help me get this right, at the time that it was passed, we had like 7 blacks in Congress to over 60 now. And I'm clear when I say blacks, I mean, I'm counting the skin color. I ain't talking about some of this mentality that some of these folks have. But it's very telling that that people hate black progress. Let's be honest. There's a lot of white supremacists. Have you guys been seeing what Elon Musk, this man they allowed, this mass murderer that they allowed to run Doge? This racist, have you been seeing what he's been posting?
Barbara, just before we go to Elon Musk and his Twitter posts, I'm wondering if, given what Black Voters Matter has said in their report, any tampering with Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act would give Pam Bondi, the DOJ, the only authority to bring action in states to immediately change their maps.
And you know what she's going to do. She's already shown us the whole Texas, redrawing of their maps in which they wiped out, black political, seats. All of this and threatening, Latino seats. All of this was done because Pam Bondi demanded it be done.
Does that mean, Barbara, then that essentially this could be an all deliberate speed case, therefore throwing the 2026 election into a quandary?
Yes, yes. And that's what they want. They want to destroy the 2026 election because they know they're going to lose it, especially when it comes to the House of Representatives. So they want to do everything they can to steal seats, block voters. It's a major thing. In my opinion, no matter what comes out tomorrow, if it lessens the protections of the Voting Rights Act, that's a loss. I don't care, anything that is passed to make the Voting Rights Act weaker is a loss for us. And we got to understand that. And we got to understand that the answer to that is that you don't just sit back and say, oh, well, we need you to stand up and fight. January 20th.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More with Barbara Anwar, and we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Issues that matter the most to you. Every day, he takes a deep dive into politics, social justice, and the stories that shape our community. This is where prominent people unpack perplexing problems. Unfiltered, unapologetic, unmissable. You're inside the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580.
Still battling a thirsty lawn that guzzles water and drains your wallet? Let LADWP turn that patch of grass into a gorgeous drought-smart garden for free. We're talking a full California-friendly landscape makeover designed and installed by pros at no cost to you. That's right, LADWP does the work, you get the upgrade. Ready to transform your yard and save big? Visit ladwp.com/leap. That's ladwp.com/LEAP.
Did you know that streaming music, ebooks, audiobooks, movies, and more is available for free from the Los Angeles Public Library? With your library card, you can access the latest music and movies, audiobooks and ebooks, graphic novels, comic books, magazines, and more. If you don't have a library card and live in the city of Los Angeles, you can get a digital card online for free. Check it out at lapl.org/emedia. That's lapl.org/emedia.
Time is up. The IRS is in full collection mode for 2025, issuing liens, levies, and garnishments to anyone who has a past tax debt or unfiled tax returns. Don't wait till it's too late. Your paycheck and bank accounts are at risk of being seized. Call now and stop the collection process today. If you're living check to check, no matter how much you're making, you still may qualify for the Fresh Start programs offered by the IRS to reduce or even eliminate your tax debt. It's just a 5-minute call to get your options, and it's free. If you owe back taxes, have years of unfiled tax returns, under audit, have a wage or bank levy, or finally just want to sleep better, business or personal, call the experts at Republic Tax Relief while there's still time. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, and tough. This veteran-owned company has the fight you need to take on the IRS. Don't go at it alone. The call is free. Call their hotline number now, 800-259-4149. That's 800-259-4149. Find out if you qualify today. Call 800-259-4149 or go to republictaxrelief.com.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about. KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Los Angeles Regional Food Bank is on a mission to fight hunger and provide nutritious food to those in need across our community. They partner with federal, state, and local programs advocating for better policies and funding for critical hunger relief programs like Cal Fresh, the Emergency Food Assistance Program, and the Child and Adult Care Food Program. The food bank works with coalitions and local representatives to make sure hunger is addressed in every district of LA County. They also run nutrition education campaigns, raise hunger awareness, and source nutritious food for distribution, all while supporting regulations that allow food pantries to operate safely. Want to help? Visit lafoodbank.org or call 323-234-3030 to volunteer or find a food bank near you. Together, we can ensure that no one goes hungry in Los Angeles County. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580. Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. King Folly, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Barbara Arnwine is always on our program breaking news. We could lose 19 blacks in Congress. 19 blacks in Congress by the end of 2026. That's a lot. I got a clip that I'd like to go to on the unraveling of MAGA.
Donald Trump's party has lost control of the House of Representatives, effectively. Multiple discharge petitions there, now moving bills without the Republican Party's permission, despite the fact that they nominally control the House. The Heritage Foundation, which brought us Project 2025, Heritage Foundation is now imploding, with senior staffers from every department fleeing that far-right organization in disgust. The Turning Point USA Conservative Movement Conference that was held this weekend was highlighted by the most famous people who spoke at that conference, all screaming insults and accusations at each other and pledging to be one another's mortal enemy. Couldn't happen to a nicer group. The president's two most high-profile and ambitious allies in Congress, Marjorie Taylor Greene and Elise Stefanik, are now both leaving Congress, and in Stefanik's case, quitting her run for New York governor. Both of them apparently storming out of the MAGA movement in disgust. And thousands of people are marching against Trump in 10-degree weather in Minnesota.
Barbara?
Yes.
Is unraveling.
Yes, in a way, yes. You know what's interesting? They're having a lot of personality disputes, right? And they're having disputes over some policy having to do with Israel. But let's not think that they're not in agreement on destroying the Voting Rights Act. Let's don't for a minute think that they're not in agreement on white supremacy. Let's not for a minute think that they're not in agreement on making sure that people who are poor are not receiving help and assistance. Let's not think for a minute that somehow they're not in agreement with some of these attacks, this bombing of these other nations, folks. You know, MAGA, Marjorie Taylor Greene still holds to most of her MAGA philosophies. Let's be very clear. It's not that they somehow have demagnetized, magnetized. They have instead, they're disputing priorities and they're disputing personalities. They're disputing, power. They're fighting over 2028. Folks, everything you're watching, the destruction of Tim Walz, all this stuff is over 2028. Don't get confused that they're already at war, trying to figure out who's going to be in what positions of power for 2028, because they're assuming that despite all of Trump's nonsense talk, that he cannot run for a third term.
Barbara,
it's about power and who's in what, position of power.
Barbara, could we expect with the Calais decision, in light of your analysis of the unraveling of MAGA and the things that they are in agreement on, getting rid of the Voting Rights Act, getting rid of the Civil Rights Act,
you got it.
Our basic protection?
They're totally in agreement with each other on that. No dispute.
Is there any doubt that Pam Bondi is going to look at blue states, blue cities, and see the ways in which she can redraw entire states?
Well, remember they start with Texas. That's a red state. So they want absolute power, absolute political dominance. They don't believe in power sharing, period. So anything they can do, anywhere they can do it, they're going to do it. They're going to go after blue states, but they're going to go after districts like they did in Missouri that are held by Democrats. They're going to go up against, Latinos. They're going to, one thing I had missed about the whole maps is that your brother, Jonathan, educated me about in Texas, is that they destroyed a white district that they considered too progressive. And they threw out, what's Lloyd Duncan?
Lloyd Doggett?
Yes, Lloyd Doggett. They redrew his district so that he can't win. So I just want people to understand that they don't care. This is all about raw political dominance. They don't want a Congress that can hold this man accountable. They want this man to be, given free reign, so that the next person who comes in can benefit from that voter suppression and can continue to do all these evil policies.
Barbara, before you give the word of hope, can you share with us how we may support the Transformative Justice Coalition and your work?
Yes, please support us. We do this work. We can't do it without public support. We're blessed that people give money to TJC to do this work, because we're in all these states helping to make sure that political power is achieved without racial discrimination. And so you can help reach us at tjcoalition.org, tjcoalition.org. That's who we are. It's a very simple and easy donation process. So you can go there and it's going to ask you if you want to donate. So please go to tjcoalition.org. Help us to do this vital, critical work.
Barbara, you were trying to make another point just before that.
Yes. I just have to give a shout out to the family of Keith Porter. Everybody, I'm so upset, like everyone, about the outrageous, racist, misogynistic, homophobic killing of Miss Renee Nicole Good. But I'm also concerned about the fact that nobody's talking about our brother.
That's
Pete Porter. Pete Porter was killed right as we were going into the new year. In Los Angeles, out in Northridge, folks, and was slain by an off-duty
ICE agent. Wasn't that something?
And what he was doing is what my dad and all my uncles always did. On New Year's Eve, my mom would be fussing, but they would do it anyway. They would go outside and they would shoot their guns into the air to salute the new year. A lot of Black folks still do it. They do it in my neighborhood here in Maryland. They do it, and I'm like, oh, Lord. But we do it. That's the way we've done it. That's a way of celebrating the new year, and that's all he was doing. And this guy got pissed off that this Black man had the nerve to have a gun and to have shot it into the air and confronted him and shot him dead for no reason, no good reason, no threat, no self-defense, just mad, about a Black man with a gun. So I just, want his family to know that we will lift up his voice, that we're going to make sure everybody knows that Keith Porter also was killed, and that his death has not gotten the national attention it deserves. So I'm here to argue on his behalf today.
Thank you, Barbara. Barbara,
he should be alive.
We have about a minute and 30 seconds for your word of hope.
Yes, January 20th. I need you in those streets. January 20th, walk out on fascism. January 20th, say to this administration, no, 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 no. And I know you were laughing when you read. It
was the no that got me.
and you read, of course, the other day, somebody's analysis on the whole Trump administration was they need to stop. STOP. And so, I'm going to keep bringing my great analysis, right?
Well, Barbara, I'm so proud of you. Please support Barbara at the tjccoalition.org, tjccoalition.org, and also continue your support of KBLA Talk 1580. We welcome all gifts, all grants, all opportunities to keep our free and independent voices right here at KBLA. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We've had a wonderful time in this hour with Barbara Arnwine. Barbara, I'll see you next Tuesday.
I'll see you then, and we'll be talking clearly about Calais, and also congratulations to your brother and all the members of Congress who are on their way to Minneapolis for that field hearing on Friday.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News.